So, welcome back to part three. One way to stop theft is through encryption. In the computing world, encryption is the conversion of the data that we're sending from a readable format into an encoded format that can be only read or processed after it's been decrypted, and you have to know how to decrypt it. So, if we use a term like plain text, that's the term used in this science called cryptography that refers to a message before it's encrypted or after it's decrypted. That is, it is a message in a form that is easily readable by humans. Encryption is the process of obscuring the messages to make them unreadable in the absence of special knowledge. It is done by the encryption algorithm or some cipher, right, is another way to say it. For example, you might have a formula like n times n minus 1 divided by 2 that others would not be aware of. Now, there are really two types of this. There's symmetric encryption, and this is really beyond this course, but I thought it was interesting for you. Symmetric encryption is a type of encryption where there's only one key. It's called a secret key, and is used to both encrypt and decrypt the electronic information. And this secret key is also called a private key. Now, this encryption differs from asymmetric encryption, where there's a pair of keys now, one public and one private key, which is used to encrypt and decrypt the message. So here's what that might look like, right? In this picture, we have Julie on the left. Julie's private key stays with her all the time. And there's this public key that's been shared to the cloud or a server, right? And so everybody knows what her public key is. That's okay. What she's going to do is encrypt a message using in my public key, which she also knows because it's public. She's going to encrypt a message using my public key. And when she sends it to me, only I can open it because only I know my private key. And the computer software is going to look to merge those, to make sure those check, the public and private key, go together. So that's kind of how that works. This is asymmetric encryption again. The public key cryptography is used as a method to ensure this confidentiality, authenticity, and non-repudiation. Again, non-repudiation is a term beyond this course, but if you're interested in cybersecurity, look that up and make it part of your lexicon. Same as obfuscation, just for fun. Beyond this course, but good terms to know. Public key encryption uses, again, the two different keys at once, a combination of a private key and a public key. Very interesting, I think. Because you can use them to then pursue digital signatures. Now, digital signature uses asymmetric key encryption, these public and private keys, to encrypt a message digest. And that's going to prove that you are the source of the message. Remember, I just said the term non-repudiation? That's proving the source of the sender. That's if I can prove it's you, because you've digitally signed it, that's non-repudiation. So digital signature protects identity. It guarantees the authenticity, I wanted to say, of an electronic document or a message in this digital communication. And it's using this encryption known as asymmetric key encryption as proof that the document is yours, that you sent it, and that's been unmodified, right? We also have virtual private networks, VPN. They use encryption, but it's called tunneling. So tunneling is a technique. If I'm on an open internet, but I want to be secure, I would VPN into my company, virtual private network. It's going to create a tunnel that only I can be inside of. Very exciting, VPN. And then, of course, we can do digital certificates. Now, digital certificate is not normally themselves encrypted. We use digital certificates unencrypted over HTTPS, that secure network protocol that you use when you talk to your bank or when you're checking out of a some sort of shopping cart online. So really, it's beyond this course, but there are certificate authorities, CAs. There's public CAs and private CAs, and even some companies are their own certification authority. A CA really creates and manages these digital certificates for us, which contain the digital signatures and identification information of the owners of the digital signatures. That's really beyond this course, but I thought it was very interesting, and I hope it's helpful to you. So these are all ways to avoid theft or to prove who did what. So generally, secure websites, they're going to use encryption and authentication standards to protect the confidentiality of web transactions. We mentioned HTTPS is a common website network transport layer that is going to use this sort of encryption, right? So really it's beyond this course, but it's interesting, right? That the most commonly used protocol for web security is this, it's called transport layer security. But again, beyond this course. Interesting though. So this hardware theft, vandalism, and failure, this is well covered on pages 520 of, whoops, jumped in ahead a little bit, on page 520 of the material, as well as this slide too. I do want to point out though, notice that physical security is as important as a tool and also the processes as the tool itself in cybersecurity, right? Many of these topics have already been discussed, like uninterruptible power supply, UPS, things like that, alarm systems. But I just want to point out, physical security is not just about the tool. It's physical security, it's processes, it's the people associated with them. Then we take a look at, okay, what if something does go wrong? How can we get it back? Well, in information technology, a backup or a data backup is a copy of the computer data taken and stored elsewhere so that it can be used to restore the original after the data loss event. Maybe somebody, a hacker got into your system and you clicked the link, downloaded ransomware, and now your whole computer is locked up. You know, an easy way to take care of that is to reformat your whole computer, clears it out of there. And if you've been keeping data backups, you don't care because you've got a current set of backups. You didn't lose any data. So backups can be local, and that's usually referred to as DAS, D-A-S, or they can be such as a thumb drive or an external hard drive. I keep an external hard drive, but then I keep that locked up or in a secure location. Or the data backup is sometimes in the cloud, right? Various backup methods are listed on page 521 in table 5.2. Please refer to that. Now, in backing up, to understand backups, you have to be aware of archive bits. Archive bit is a metadata flag. It's just a flag, 0 or 1, on a file. Every file has this metadata flag that indicates the file has changed or needs to be archived. So if the metadata flag is 0, it does not need to be archived, and if it's 1, it does need to be archived. So you can do any of these or a combination of them. You can do full backups, and that's, notice, going to set the archive bit back to 0, meaning it does not need backed up again. Or you can do differential backups, which is going to reset the archive bit for the copied data. So it copies the data that has an archive bit set to 1, right? Everything basically since the last full backup. And then there are incremental backups. These archive data that has changed since the last incremental backups. And the computer knows which are which by this archive bit that is in there. So for example, say on Thursday you performed an incremental backup of the hard disk. An incremental backup backs up the files that have been created or changed since the preceding backup, regardless of whether you are the preceding backup was full or differential or incremental, right? And so you perform a backup on Wednesday. So the incremental backup you perform on Thursday is going to back up all the files on the hard disk that were changed or created since that last backup on Wednesday. That's just an example of how that works. I hope that's helpful. Now this table this slide summarizes table 5-2 in the book. I ask you to refer to that in your reading, because and understand as you read these, disaster recovery and business continuity, right? So a disaster recovery plan, sometimes known as a DRP, it attempts to minimize the impact of things caused by nature or human error or an attacker, right, doing ransomware on imagine your business servers, locking you down. So a disaster recovery plan is going to outline exactly who must do what in case of unfavorable events occur, step by step. Now, business continuity is considered the key goal to which the disaster recovery plan plays a part. So disaster recovery normally involves step-by-steps to get the business operational. So you'll want to do a business impact analysis. This BIA is going to identify the effect unwanted events have on the operation of your business. That's a whole study by itself, again, outside of this course. But read these slides in terms of your disaster recovery plan or your business continuity plan. Now we move to wireless security, right, which is very interesting and prevalent everywhere we go. Wireless security is the prevention of unauthorized access or damage to computers or data using wireless networks, which include Wi-Fi networks. The most common type of Wi-Fi security is called wireless equivalent privacy, or WEP, and Wi-Fi protected access, WPA. So there are really three forms of WEP or WPA today. The protocols are WEP, right? We just call that wired equivalent privacy. That's kind of old. From there, we move to WPA, and today we are on WPA2. That is the most common. WPA2 is the type of security you should have in your home network for your Wi-Fi security. Most modern routers will offer that. So it serves the same purpose as being not only do the wireless security protocols prevent unwanted parties from connecting to your network, so that's what WPA2 is going to do, but also encrypts your private data sent over the airwaves, right? And don't forget there are peripherals that are wireless too. Your wireless keyboards and mice, your displays, your Wi-Fi enabled SSD cards. We talked about SSD in an earlier lecture. What about your wireless printers, external storage devices, perhaps, and even cameras, right? You know, think about it. Wireless mice are subject to mouse spoofing. They're not malware infection. That's not really the issue, but mouse spoofing. Mouse spoofing involves sending forged signals to the victim's computer to match the wireless mouse protocol. Once the signals are accepted, the attacker can use the mouse actions to command the computer to download other attack vectors, right? And that's where you get into real trouble. And just note that a personal firewall can be configured to prevent all inbound network traffic, which also prevents its discovery on a wired or wireless network. Okay. Moving forward then, this slide, technology ethics, covered nicely on pages 525 and 526, as well as ethics and society covered on the same pages. So we'll come back then and talk about intellectual property, intellectual property and information, intellectual property on the next lesson. Okay, and that pretty much wraps that up. Okay, I'm looking forward to it. See you next time.